host Shubham Sawant, and welcome to Shubham Super Techie. Now today we're going to look at an action camera which is a little bit old compared to the newer, more elaborate and more sophisticated action cameras out there, but it still gets the job done pretty well. And that is this little guy, which is the GoPro Hero 5. Now I'll be completely honest with you, I actually won this camera from a sweepstake. I know, I didn't really purchase the camera, and I didn't really find the necessity to really have an action camera. But I'm glad I won this camera because it's turned out to be a really sweet deal. Now, I primarily use this camera for my other channel, SuperSpeed, and that's for my first person point of view shots that I've started doing recently. If you haven't checked that channel, I have it linked in the show cards or in the description below. Check it out. So, without further ado, let's find out and see what makes this camera particularly noteworthy. Alright, so here it is, the GoPro Hero 5. And as you can see, it's a tiny little camera. Now, I'm not that used to action cameras personally, so this is kind of a new thing for me, but for you action goers out there, an action camera is a pretty good camera to have, as you can get some really creative and nice detailed shots of, well, anything from having a first person point of view shots to having that underwater shots, because by the way, I forgot to mention, this is waterproof, but you can get that nice sweet 4K detailed underwater shots, and even the new cameras out there are starting to get into that 8K range, which is pretty astonishing. But here it is. Now this is the black edition, which kind of gives it away because, well, it is mostly black with a subtle hints of gray accents throughout the camera, and it has that rugged feel which kind of is expected for old GoPros. It has that rubber texture around the side and throughout the bottom here at the top as well. You also have that nice rubber texture around the camera itself. And now you can get cases and protection covers on this camera, but as it is a solid, nice, chunky feel to it, and it makes you feel like this will last forever, which is kind of expected for old GoPros, to be honest. Now you have some buttons here throughout the camera. First is your mode/power button. On top you have your record button, and then on the side you press and push it out. And here you have your charging and your HDMI port down here. Close this, if I can, there you go. Push and hold this, and this is where you find your small SD card and your battery. Now all you have to do to turn on the camera is press and hold this mode button. Wait for a few seconds. And there you go. Now this is your main screen, and as soon as the camera focuses, there we go. You can see that the home screen consists of your battery, how much time you have left to record, and your Wi-Fi/Bluetooth/ your GPS signals if you have them on or off. Then at the bottom you have your record toggle between your record, camera, time-lapse, etc. Your resolution, and this can go up to 4K. Your frames per second, and your field of view. So let's toggle into those different features. Now first, let's start with your field of view. So you press it, and you have, starting with your super view, which is your super elongated view, all the way down to your narrow view, which is really zoomed up. So this is your narrow view, then one up is your linear, then one up is your medium, one up above that is your wide, and last but not least is your super view. So I typically leave it in wide view because I don't want that fisheye look that usually comes up with the medium and super view. So this is a nice balance in between. Now once you toggle beyond that, click here to set it up. Now once you have your medium, you click here to set it up. Then you go to your frames per second. Now you can go all the way to 240 frames per second, but that does limit how much your resolution will be. So if you say you want 240 frames per second, you go back down, you can go up to 4K. So let's say we choose 4K, And I also noticed that, and maybe because of the wear that I've been using it with, but the touch inputs are a little bit laggy, and it sometimes doesn't get your touch input on the first try. So you'll see this throughout the video, but thought I'll point it out. So at 4K, it does limit it at everything but your 30 and 24 FPS. But if you switch it back to, let's say, around 1440 and shoot it up, then as you can see, it expands your view up to 80 frames per second. Now if you want that full 240 frames per second, then you have to go back here. And let's say we want 720. Then you can choose your 240 frames per second. So you have to play around with a bit. You have to figure out what your resolution and your frames per second is going to be to find that nice sweet spot. Now I typically shoot at 30 FPS and I shoot it at 1080p, which, you know, it's fine. It does the job pretty well. And then once I have that set, then you go to your bottom left right here, and this is where you can choose between having video / photo, or looping. And looping basically means having a time lapse. Now you can also find further settings when you swipe in from the right, and this is where you can find a bunch of other settings like your color saturation and color settings, your white balance, your ISO, shutter speed, EV, sharpness, audio, and your Pro Tune. So like if we select, let's say, your ISO, this is where you can change everything. And I like that they put all the settings when you click on it towards the right, and you can adjust it by just swiping up or down basically. So you have that, and then there are a bunch of other settings. Now if you swipe further to the right, there's your video stabilization, low light, and your manual audio controls if you have a audio speaker or a microphone attached to it. Swiping that down and swiping further from the up arrow, you can see that you have your connection and your preferences. So connection basically means if you have different devices selected. Now if you want to connect your new device, I have my phone connected to the GoPro, which is connected to the GoPro app. And what that basically means is that you can adjust everything from your phone. So when I shoot my videos from the first point of view on my head, I don't want to constantly take it off, change the settings, put it back on, then take it off again, change the settings, and so on and so forth. So instead what I do is just put it on, have it connected via Bluetooth to my phone, and then adjust a bunch of the same settings that are on my phone. Now going back, and I decided to come to front of the camera for this part, but you also have your voice activation, which if you click here you can have it on or off. You can also have your preferences, which you can learn more about the GoPro if you want to have a tour of all the settings of the GoPro, adjust your time, if you have new updates, your date format, your languages / voice controls, the list of commands for the voice control system, have your beeps, LEDs, bunch of settings that you would need for your GoPro. Swiping back down and going back, you can have your screen locks, or if you want to have it in landscape, or if you want to have a portrait, you can just basically press the button to have it locked or unlocked. And that's about it for the top view. And then swiping in from the left, this is where you basically find all your media and videos / photos that you have. So you can basically swipe through all the way down. You can see whether you want to have certain clips, photos, videos, time lapses, and whether if you want to delete them or not. Also, there's a GoPro app where you can basically adjust and delete, edit different clips of your video, and basically make a full format video. Now I don't typically use that app just because it has certain limitations and it is a little bit finicky to use. But if you want to get a quick video out there with a few minor adjustments and edits, it is a great app to use. Now for the most part, I use the software that I have on my computer, but if you want to make a quick video and have a couple edits here and there and you just want to share it real quick, then that app is a really great app to use. Now if you want to see how this camera actually works, check out my SuperSpeed channel. Again, I have a link to the show card in the description below. And there you can see my first person point of view shots, and you can basically see how the stabilization is, how the color correction and color science is, and how the audio also is, because I usually, because of the GoPro, I don't really have a external mic or microphone that I use, so I just used the GoPro audio. And now there are different settings that you can use for the GoPro audio, but I mostly leave it at the default setting. Now check out that other channel, and there you can see our overall look and feel how the camera actually performs. Alright, so with that being said, should you get a GoPro Hero 5? Yes and no. See, if you want to get that cinematic shot and have that incredible stabilization without having to purchase any other accessory, then the GoPro Hero 8 in particular is a solid purchase. It'll be a great investment to have. However, if you want to get a good shot of any action of whatever you're doing without having to spend a lot more money on color saturation, or you don't care much about that stabilization, then this might be a solid pick. Yes, it doesn't have all the features, and yes, you're giving up some of that stabilization. Now, it does have good stabilization, but it's not great by any means. But regardless, this is still a pretty solid action camera to have, and if you're in the market to get one, this should be on your top list. And with that, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up if you liked it, subs if you loved it. And with that, see you guys in the next one.
Peace. One more time. I really need to make it right. Energy I overdose, 'cause I'm ready to reload. I need it one more time.